in that run, when the Colts won, you guys went through Kansas City, Baltimore, and you beat the Patriots in the NFC Championship game, or the AFC Championship game. What was your feeling when that clock hit zero? It was 38-34, and you guys were going to the bowl.
Yeah, one of the best days outside the four of my children's birth, of course, and my wedding. One of the best days of my life is just knowing we punched the ticket to the Super Bowl and beat our arch nemesis, the Patriots, of course. And here I am 12 years later and still watching Brady knock it down. It's impressive.
What was that feeling like? It's every football player's dream to go play in a Super Bowl, and you got to go to Miami and play in one.
Yeah, it's an incredible feeling. You see the confetti drop from the ceiling, and I think I still have a handful of that left from back in 2007. Definitely one of the best memories I've had. Just being on the field with your teammates, especially that game. I think we were down 20 points at one point.
It was 21-3 at half or something like that.
Yeah, we were down at least 3 scores in the game, and I remember kind of in the back of your head, you start thinking, oh, looks like I'm packing it back up, and after the season you go home, and there was just no quit in that team. In fact, I remember Dungy just saying, we're going to come out, we're going to get one score, and football, like life, is a game of momentum. So once you get that momentum back, you can just start to chip away at it. That year in particular as well, the Patriots were a little bit back on their heels. I think they had already in their mind thought that they had punched their ticket to the Super Bowl, and of course, the game went our way. And so it gave me the opportunity to go to Miami and face my hometown Bears.
Yeah, what was that like? You're a kid from Chicago, and I think months ago you told me if you lost that Super Bowl, you would have never been able to go back. So what was it like squaring off against the Bears in Miami?
Well, if anyone knows anything about Bears fans, they're still celebrating 1985 and the Walter Payton era and the fridge. So definitely, if we had lost that game in Miami, I don't know if I'd be able to show my face there again.
And what was Super Bowl week like? Just those 2 weeks leading up. I mean, you had a week of preparation, but then you get there and you have all the media and everyone's just every eye's on the Super Bowl. What was that prep like?
It's surreal. It's quite the week. You know, all eyes are on you. Hats off to the coaching staff that treated it like any other game. The way that Coach Dungy and his staff prepared us, we prepared like you would a preseason game. It was just about the routine and getting in those habits and getting in those grooves. So when the gravity of the game was very big on that platform, everyone was cool and calm.
So on the first play of the Super Bowl, do you remember what happened?
Absolutely. Who can forget Devin Hester taking that thing back? I remember Coach Dungy kind of having this no fear. We're going to take it. We're going to kick it right to him, and we're going to show him we're not scared. And I think for the rest of the game we avoided that. But I remember the lights flashing.
92 yards.
92 yards, blazing fast. Hester taking it to the house. Probably one of the most memorable sports moments in Chicago history, if not Super Bowl history. And I remember thinking, this is not the way we wanted to start the game.
And you win the Super Bowl, 29-17 at the end of the day. Confetti. What was going through your head? How great was it when that clock struck zero and you were a champion?
Again, seeing the confetti come down Colts colors and being able to hold the Lombardi trophy, everyone being on the field, I had to remind myself to take just one moment for myself. It was good advice I got from someone that if you do win it, take that last moment to look back from the tunnel and just look at the scoreboard, look at the field, and just know that you're at the pinnacle of sports. And that's quite an awesome feeling.
So you were just telling me a funny story while we were off camera about what happens after the Super Bowl win. What does a team do when they win the biggest game of the year?
Well, you might think that everyone parties all night and that you party for 3 days and you hang out in Miami, but that's not the case at all. As everyone knows, the Super Bowl starts around 6 o'clock here, and which means the game ends close to midnight Eastern time in Miami. So by the time you get done with media and the trophy ceremony, there's really little time to actually celebrate the win. So they had a friends and family party at our hotel, but really everyone had to get ready to get up about 4:30 in the morning and head back to Indianapolis. And when you get back to Indianapolis, you just want to relax for a moment, but they give you a jacket and a jersey and say, hey, you're going to go on this parade. And by the way, it's 10 degrees outside. But I tell you what was probably the most amazing part of it all is you turn the corner on these big floats and to see the thousands of fans outside and playing the celebration song, We Are the Champions, and then going into the old RCA Dome and seeing that packed with 50,000 people for the celebration in the dome. That was just priceless.
So from Super Bowl in Miami, a Chicago kid, you end up all the way out here in Montana. How did that happen? How did you get up here to Bozeman?
Really, really, really good question, Nick. My wife Allison actually grew up on a dairy farm in Manhattan. She was working on the dairy farm, and she was actually teaching in Alaska at the time. So we did kind of the long distance thing from Alaska to Chicago. And I made her a promise when we got married that we would raise our kids in the mountains. And I didn't know exactly what that meant, but is it Denver? Is it Anchorage? Is it Bozeman? Is it somewhere else? But the clouds parted, and I had an opportunity to make a career shift and move the family out here.
And what was the thought behind that? You retire after 2 seasons in the NFL. Why so soon? Why so sudden? Was it because of that move?
No, not at all. In fact, we moved much after that. I mean, I'd love to tell you that I could have played for another decade, but the fact of the matter is, and I've probably said this to you before, that NFL stands for not for long. I was a guy that had to beat out draft picks in 2005, and beat out another draft pick in 2006. We won the Super Bowl that year, the 2007 Super Bowl in 41. Went on, I had another season in NFL Europe, came on to training camp with the Colts, and just knew those roster spots are so slim, and I tell the athletes I work with, have something past football. It's why I went to Northwestern University. It's why I advise all my athletes to think critically about what they want to do beyond athletics. So I was fortunate enough to play at the highest level, be around a great Hall of Fame team. We had a 10-year reunion just a couple of years ago, and that was a blast. And to see everyone in their gold jackets, Bill Polian and Marvin Harrison, and Tony as well. That was an amazing thing to just take a step back and say, wow, I was really surrounded by the best of the best. And of course, there's going to be a number of other players that are going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame here in the next couple of years.
You train with the Bozeman Hawks. You train with their football team. What do you do with them?
Yeah. So maybe my bigger passion outside of football is actually the training side of things. What I've always loved about that is you put in the hard work and you get to reap the benefits at some point. In particular, I'm laser focused on the speed and agility side of things. I think it's a big component that most high school and collegiate programs are missing, and that's just the ability to move in any direction you need to be able to start and stop on a dime. And so I've been fortunate enough to be asked by Coach Weshy to work with the Bozeman Hawks athletes this summer. Of course, they had an amazing season, and that made me feel great. So, hats off to those athletes putting in the work and having a great season.
Almost went to the championship game.
I know.
And the other team, I don't know if you've done any work with the college kids. The Cats have had an amazing season this year. Did you ever have a chance to catch a Cat game?
Yeah, absolutely. I went to Northwestern University, so I'm a Cat fan at heart, and that's the Wildcats out of Northwestern, but I love the Bobcats too. I've been to several games. Great fans, great atmosphere, great program. Was fortunate enough to go to the playoff game this year and saw them get a W there.
Which one did you go to? You went to the one right at home?
Yep, yeah, the home game.
Now, what about it do you like about that FCS level? Obviously, Northwestern is FBS, but with the Bobcats being FCS, is it a little closer knit, a little different football?
Yeah. So I went to Northwestern University. It's in Chicago, and it's definitely not a college town. I mean, we're surrounded by the Chicago Bears and the Blackhawks and the Cubs, so you're vying for everyone's kind of fandom. And what I love about Bozeman is everyone rallies behind the Bobcats. So just the atmosphere on a game day is pretty epic. The effort and the tailgates by the fans, that's a really fun thing to walk through and see.
Now, who's Northwestern's rival? Who is that?
Yeah, so on paper it would be University of Illinois.
Okay.
And we play for, it used to be the Sweet Sioux, and now it's the hat, so it's Abe Lincoln's hat.
So have you been sucked into at all this Cat Grizz rivalry? But it takes over the entire state. What would you say about that rivalry? That for one day out of the year in November, the state gets split right in half.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little jealous I mean, I played in the Big Ten, but the fact that the whole state it really just rallied around two teams, that's a pretty fun thing to see. I haven't had the opportunity to attend a Cat Grizz game, but it's something I'd definitely like to see. It's really fun to see the Bobcats come back from that deficit this past year.